Right, so straight after. I know I said in my last video that I was going to put together a contraception talk, so to speak, and if I look down, I'm sorry, I've got everything written down here because although these are my experiences, it's kind of hard to put them together, speaking out loud rather. So I'm going to basically go through dot to dot with each contraception that I've had and my experience with all, how long I was on them and what happened in the end. So I'll start off with the beginning. I went on the combined pill, so that's the big pill, so to speak. I must have been about 15, and it wasn't for contraceptive purposes at all. It was mainly because I had hit puberty, of course, and all those wonderful things happened. I'm sorry, this video will be TMI, but what can you do, eh? It's not a very easy topic to talk about without TMI. So I had started my period, but it was completely irregular and it was so painful. I couldn't do anything during the day, really, without being in excruciating pain. So along with my doctor, we decided that it would be best for me to go on the pill. Now, I was on this pill for a long time, a very, very, very long time. I loved it, absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. You take it every single day for 21 days, and then you have a 7-day break, and then you take it again. And during those 7 days, when you have your break, you have a normal period, so to speak. I loved it. It was great. If I could have it again now, I would do. But I had it for a very long time. I mean, we're talking 8 years, and I ended up having migraines. So they took me off it straight away because I'm not entirely sure what the reason is that it causes migraines, but it does, and it's very, very dangerous. So you have to come off it if you start having migraines. I will say it's migraines with an aura, so that means with the lights, for me, they flash across my eye in like a zigzag, or I can get dots. It's not the same every time, I would say, but it's generally around that. I get, like, if you look at a light bulb and you get that little dot in where you've looked at it, it's kind of like that when I get my migraines, although I haven't had them for a while, so fingers crossed I won't be getting them again, because I think they are chemically induced by hormones. So yes, I've been on this pill. I've been on it for a very long time. Started to get those, and the doctor said that I had to come off. Now, I went on to a progesterone-only pill, or it's called the mini pill, or the pop. This was awful, absolutely awful. I hated it. I'm sorry if you hear banging around in the background, my neighbours are just going out, and we do live in a flat. So yes, the mini pill, epic distractions. The mini pill is great for some people. I've got plenty of friends who are on it. It has some health benefits as well, which is why it was a great choice at the beginning, but I bled constantly for going on 3 months. My doctor was quite worried. In the end, I ended up having severe anemia, and I've been battling with anemia ever since. It never has gone back to normal. I've never had the same energy levels, and I'm actually taking tablets now because I can get very anemic very quickly. So it caused permanent damage in a way to me. I'm not saying that it would do that to everyone, but that's what happened to me. So my doctor took me off that as soon as he realised what it was doing. I then tried the patch, and that is like a little sticky square, and that administers the hormones through the skin. It's topical, which is what the technical term is. Now, I used to put that on the bottom of my stomach. The only problem is, of course, it's a sticky patch, just like if you've got a smoking patch. I found it irritating. It would get dirty from where my clothes had been on it, and I found it difficult because I like to have baths rather than showers, and in the bath it used to soak and the edges would come loose. You change that every week, so it's not too bad, but having a bath every day, it does by the end of the week come off completely. Um, Not the best choice for me. I came off it within a month because I absolutely hated it, and against my doctor's wishes I went back on the combined pill. Now, I was only on it for 6 months before I came off it altogether, and I kind of I messed around with a few different pills of the same kind of combined pill, if that makes sense, because there are lots of different kinds. There isn't just one. And for that length of time, I was on microgynon. But I messed around with few different types of pills, and nothing was working for me. I then met my partner and decided that between the two of us, obviously we'd had sexual relationships beforehand, we wanted to do the whole sensible thing, get completely screened, and see how things went from there. Now, of course, we did that, and I was talking to the doctor in there, and she had asked what contraception I was on, and I had said that I was on the combined pill microgynon, and she went through all the list of things and asked me if I was getting migraines, and of course I said yes, which I did get them quite often, and she asked if it was with the aura, and I said yes, and she was a bit more abrupt than my last doctor, who would let me go back on the pill, and she took me off it there and then. She said there was absolutely no way I was staying on that pill. And she put me again on a mini pill, the pop pill. Now, it was an old 60s pill. It wasn't one of the new pop pills. It was a very old one. They don't like to prescribe it very often because it's just not as effective as the new ones. But they did. They prescribed it, and the same thing happened. I bled constantly for 2 months. And considering my anemia levels from the last time, they soon realised that I couldn't be on that pill, and that it wasn't a good choice for me. Throughout the consultation, of course, we talked about the Depo Jab, which is an injection that you have every 3 months, or every 12 weeks, rather, and that seemed like a really good option. We also talked about the Implanon, which is the one in your arm, I'm pretty sure. I'll do a separate talk on every contraception that there is, but I'll do that in a separate video because it would just be too long. And we also talked about the ones that are inserted into the uterus. Now, I will not have anyone insert anything into my uterus. I don't agree with it. I think it's completely unnatural. I mean, if it works for you, that's great. It's just my personal choice. I do not want to have the risk of anything going wrong and not being able to have children in the future. Don't think it's right to mess with your body to that extent. I think that mainly comes from being raised by grandparents, and my nan and I have always had a good relationship where we could talk about these things. And simply, she didn't really agree with chemical methods in general, so I kind of agreed with them. I mean, I think that it's a brilliant thing if it'll work for you, but I just don't think that anything should be inserted into the uterus. If you've got to do that, then I think you're going a bit too far in messing with nature. So we agreed with my doctor that that just wasn't for me, because I'm just so against it. So I decided there and then to go on the Depo Jab. It seemed like the best one for me. It was quick and easy, and it's done. You don't have to think about it. When it's on there, when it's in your skin, in your blood system, it's there for 12 weeks. That's it. The only problem is with that, it's there for 12 weeks. So if you do have any side effects, you're stuck with them until it runs out, or a little bit after. I mean, I was stuck with it for. I ended up having a second dose just to make sure. Needless to say, I came off it, but I'll go into that now. This is the worst type of contraception that I have had, considering what the rest of them were like. I mean, that's saying something. This jab was okay. The day I started it, I did have a mild bleed. Wasn't too bad. Didn't really think much of it. It wasn't horrendous. I mean, it was painful, but then no more than a bad period pain would be anyway, so it wasn't that much of a problem. But that wasn't the main problem for me. About 2 weeks in, I started to develop severe cramping pains. Now it would go on and off from being normal cramping pains, like when you got your period, to severe where I would be kind of clutching at my stomach, and they would come on really suddenly. I could be, buttering my toast, and I would have to double over because it would hurt that much. Now it got worse and worse and worse until I ended up being hospitalised. I had to go to A&E, which I don't know if you call that in wherever you are. It's accident and emergency in the hospital, and no one could work out what was wrong. They thought it was my appendix at one point, but it just wasn't in the right place. And as the doctor said, I wasn't rebounding in the way I would have done if it was my appendix, and that means that when he pressed on my stomach, my knees didn't jolt up to kick him in the face, which is a nice way to put it. But it was really, really bad, and I couldn't walk, and I was crying, and it got to the point where I just was an absolute mess. Now, my doctors at the gum clinic had said there was no way it could be anything to do with the pill, with the Depo Jab. Yeah. See, this is why it's written down. It was absolutely nothing to do with that. It couldn't be. It was just nothing. Doing my own research at home, which technically I really should have done beforehand, which I'm sure is why you're watching this video, being smarter than I was. I then realised that actually it can cause a lot of problems. Because it's just one chemical. It's just progesterone. It's not estrogen based, which is why I went on it. Estrogen is what causes the migraines, and progesterone it doesn't. It can cause quite a few adverse side effects. One of them isn't the pain, so to speak, but it's things that it create pain, like you can get cysts on your ovaries, and things like that, things of that nature. But that wasn't it. I mean, in the end, the doctor, after going in, I think I went in 5 times in a week into hospital, the doctor had said that he wondered if it could be cysts or if it was a possible ectopic pregnancy, because it increases your chances of having those. And I knew that wasn't even possible because I was in so much pain that wasn't even happening. So I knew that wasn't it, but he then sent me for a scan to see if it was anything woman related. I went for the first scan, and there was nothing they could see. They said I looked completely healthy and that my uterus was fine. They couldn't see any cysts. That's what they were mainly looking for, or the chance of an ectopic pregnancy. There was just nothing there, so it's fine. But the pain didn't go away, and I went back to my doctor, and my doctor had sent me to have another scan, and in that scan they found a shadow on my uterus. Now, to this day, I don't know what that shadow is. The doctor had said it was there, but he didn't say it was anything to worry about, and me being me, I completely panicked. Went to see my doctor. My doctor said that he couldn't see anything. So to this day, I still have no idea. But then again, I'm 25. Those kind of tests come up now anyway. So I'm just going to mention it to my doctor. It's in my notes, so that's fine. But and I'm absolutely sure there's nothing to worry about. Apparently, these things can happen if you're in a certain point in your cycle. It can look as if you might have a shadow, and at later scans they couldn't see anything. So it could just be one of those things, nature. Later on, I'd gone back to the doctors again, and they had weighed me, and they'd worked out that in the last 6 months I'd put on 1.5 stone in weight, and the doctor was really, really concerned about that because I hadn't changed my eating habits. I don't eat a lot in general. Mainly I eat soup, so it's not exactly very fattening food. I hadn't changed my eating habits. I hadn't changed my exercise routine. The only thing that had changed is the Depo Jab that I'd been taking. So they suggested that I come off it because you can't be piling on weight that fast, so you'll end up with diabetes. So I came off it, and since about 2 weeks after it left my system, because I I finished the jab in the September, like mid-September, and by October the pains had completely gone. I mean, I don't get any type of pains at all. I finally got a normal period back as well, and it's been amazing in comparison, although I've still got all the spots that I came out with as a result of the Depo Jab, mainly around this part of the face, and of course in the T-zone, which is, we all know about that. But these spots I've never had before, and they just don't seem to want to go away. But I know from friends who have had babies that they've had them when they've had babies, and of course progesterone is created when you have children, so you can only expect so much. But I was removed from it, so I can't go on that again. So I'm kind of running out of options. At the moment I'm not on anything. Of course, when that happens we use protection. We also use a combined natural family planning method, which I don't know if you know anything about it. It's you note down when your cycle is, and you can work out when you're ovulating, and times when it's safer to have sex, and times when it's not safe to have sex if you don't want to get pregnant. You can also use that method if you're trying to get pregnant, working out when you ovulate and when it's a great time to try and get pregnant. But my issue here is I would like to go on a method that actually my grandmother used. She used it back when she was having babies. All her children were planned. She never had any accidents, you know. Well, I say all of them were planned. The pregnancies were planned, but she ended up having twins. So twins weren't planned. No one wants 3 babies under 3. Well, unless you're crazy anyway. So that's what I would ideally like to do. I'd like to use that alongside the other methods that I'm using, the natural family planning, and I would like to use, if I had my own way, I would like to use the cap, and that's a barrier method. It prevents the sperm getting through to the uterus and being able to fertilise an egg. You use that alongside spermicide, so it kills the sperm. It just seems like it would really, really work for me. I take a lot of responsibility for my own body, and as does my partner. We are very, very responsible in this aspect, but being in England, being 24, the gum clinics, so they're called, in this area seem to think that anybody under the age of 30 is completely responsible and cannot take responsibility for their own reproductive system, I suppose is the only way I can say it. So as far as I'm aware now, that isn't going to be an option for me. They are really, really trying to push me into having something inserted into my uterus, which is, as I said at the beginning, is not for me in any way. There is absolutely no way I'm having anything inserted into my uterus. So I'm kind of stuck using only a condom and the natural family planning, which just, I mean, of course it works, but it's nicer not to have to use, you know, condoms, because they're not exactly the most comfortable things in the world. And when you haven't been using them, it is different. It's a lot to get used to. Although it doesn't necessarily bother us, I just think it will be easier without. So the idea is I'd love to use other preventative method, as in a barrier method, but I don't think that's going to work. If you are somewhere like in the States, I know that this is something that they do use over there. I have some friends over there that use the cap and use the diaphragm, which is another kind of version. They're all preventative. They're all used alongside spermicide. They have their ups and downs, which I'll talk about independently in another video. But you know, if you're taking responsibility for your body, you should be able to take responsibility for these things. My whole viewpoint is, if you cannot take responsibility for your own sexual health, you should not be having sex. I know that's very, very simple outlook, but I think it that's the way it should be. It's the way it was when I first started on this venture, and it should be that way now. I do have a younger cousin who thankfully seems to have the same outlook as myself, and if I get my way, she will never be within a metre of another man, so this will be great. But you know, these things happen, and I'd like to learn more about this to help her, because she will get to the age where she has to ask these questions, and it will be nice to be able to help her, because like I said, I've got an amazing relationship with my nan, but she simply doesn't know the facts about contraception and what's out here now and what is new in comparison. I mean, I remember talking to her about it, and I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this, but from being younger and using a barrier method, she was convinced that spermicides killed all STIs, and that's just simply not true. She'd also managed to tell my cousin that, and I had to try and rectify that with her, because she went into school and asked the sexual education teacher, and the sexual education teacher was very confused. So I mean, it's just the age gap thing. So that's my story about what's happening. At the moment, I'm only using natural family planning and condoms, and you know, hopefully that'll work, because I don't want any babies anytime soon, and I'm absolutely sure my other half doesn't. I'm sorry this has been such a long video. I'm going to get a cup of tea and then start on each individual contraception, so hopefully you'll be able to find one that works for you, because there just isn't enough on here. And I know when I first started looking into changing contraception, I went straight to YouTube, and there just isn't enough help from people who have actually experienced them. All the ones that I'm going to talk about, I have people who have had a lot of experience with them, and I've got advice from them of what to say, because of course they've used it, they know. If I haven't used it, of course. So yeah, thank you for listening, thank you for watching this. I'm sorry about it being so long, but what can you do? It's been a long history. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. Okay, bye!